of what a traditional business software suite does, it's no surprise that more than 3,000 businesses are signing up per day. No wonder the Financial Post says the cost savings in offering scaled-down versions of large enterprise software is making cloud computing a huge business. But at just $50 a pop, you might be wondering how big this business can really get. Well, industry research firm Gartner Incorporated says the market for internet-based software recently hit $5.1 billion and conservatively estimates it will grow to $11.5 billion by 2011. But don't forget, this is just one small part of the giant and highly profitable cloud computing world. And given its dominance over the online world, massive network of strategic partnerships, and unmatched ability to innovate, you can bet a great majority of the fortunes generated by cloud computing will flow through Google's coffers. Even so, you may be wondering, isn't it too late to buy Google? Not at all. In fact, as I mentioned, one of America's most trusted stock pickers is convinced that right now is the perfect time to get invested in the future of cloud computing, and especially in Google. But why should you trust him? Well, let's just say that this isn't the first time this maverick investor has recommended a stock after the hotshots on Wall Street declared it was too late. Back in 2005, he recommended robotic surgery specialist Intuitive Surgical to a small group of opportunistic investors. At the time, shares were selling for $44.17. 1 year prior, shares had sold for $17.46, and a year before, they were just selling for $8.68. You heard that right. Intuitive Surgical has risen 500% in the 2 years before he recommended it, and that scared lesser investors off. But this visionary investor recognized that Intuitive Surgical was both top dog and first mover in its industry and still had plenty of room to run. And he was right on the money. Shares of Intuitive Surgical now trade at around $300 per share, meaning investors who followed this investor's lead are up as much as 570%. And this wasn't just some sort of lucky break or fluke either. You see, this world-famous investor first caught the financial media's attention when he recommended AOL in the summer of 1994 after it had quadrupled in just 12 short months. Of course, the story is the same with AOL. He recognized it as both a top dog and first mover in an important emerging industry, and he knew it was only getting started. 6 years later, AOL was a 100 bagger, turning every $10,000 invested into a whopping $1 million. And this growth investor into a living legend. And here are just a few more of the top dogs and first movers he's uncovered recently. Myriad Genetic, locked in 252% gains. Baidu, up 928%. Vertex Pharmaceuticals, up 246%. SXC Health Solutions, up 264%. Mercado Libre, up 397%. By now, I imagine you're ready to meet this legendary investor and find out exactly what I mean by top dog and first mover. So let's begin with the award-winning financial newsletter he writes and sends out to members each month. It carries the same name as the small community of investors I mentioned a moment ago. It's called Motley Fool Rule Breakers, and it's headed up by the extremely successful stock picker I've been telling you about today. You may have already guessed that I'm talking about David Gardner, co-founder of the Motley Fool. After all, he's pretty well known. You've probably seen David on CNBC discussing his favorite growth stocks with some of the nation's other top-tier equity analysts. Or perhaps you've read one of his many best-selling investment books. Or maybe you're just familiar with some of his remarkable stock recommendations. eBay in 1999, Starbucks in 1998, AOL in 94, Amgen in 98, Amazon in 1997. Regardless, it's not hard to see why Money.com says he's among the most widely followed stock pickers in the world. And I'm sure you can understand why anytime David gets excited about an investment opportunity, I stand up and take notice. Well, let me tell you right now, David is extremely excited about what he calls the three kings of cloud computing. These are three exceptionally well-run companies that David and his team of cutting-edge equity analysts have identified as both top dogs and first movers in their respective industries. You've already heard a little bit about the first of these three, and I imagine you're beginning to see why David thinks any serious investor should get Google in his portfolio right this minute. But as I mentioned before, you deserve to get the full story so you can decide for yourself whether or not to take advantage of this incredible opportunity. That's why I want to send you a complimentary copy of our brand new special report, The Three Kings of Cloud Computing. This valuable report is one, jam-packed with patented in-depth analysis and investment insights. and 2 is available only to a few select individual investors. And not only does it spell out exactly why Google could be the next monster winner in plain, easy to understand English, it also reveals 2 lesser known companies that are poised to dominate the world of cloud computing and hand investors incredible returns. Just ahead, I'll tell you how to claim a complimentary copy of this report. Plus, I'll give you a chance to join the Rule Breakers community at a limited time discount rate. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about the other 2 incredible companies that David's so excited about. First things first, what's a top dog and a first mover? It's quite simple, really. A top dog is a company that dominates its industry, and a first mover is a company with a technology or product so revolutionary that it disrupts an existing industry and creates an entirely new one. And on the rare occasion that you find a company that is both a top dog and a first mover, the chances are pretty good that you found your next big winner. Just think of eBay in the online auction market, Amazon in the online retail market, or Netflix in the DVD rental market. David Gardner has actually led investors to big gains on all 3. You see, these companies redefined the way business was done, launched entirely new industries, and continue to dominate those industries to this day. And you don't need me to tell you how handsomely they've rewarded shareholders along the way. So you can see why David Gardner and his Rule Breakers team work around the clock to find companies that are both top dogs and first movers. But they don't stop there. You see, David discovered long ago, in order to find the companies that will deliver truly life-changing investment returns, you have to break the rules and go against much of what passes for wisdom on Wall Street. That's why he searches for companies with a sustainable competitive advantage that can be exploited for years to come, strong past price appreciation, excellent management, strong consumer appeal, and here's the big one, documented proof that the financial media thinks it's overvalued. Remember, many of David Gardner's biggest winners were recommended after the fast-talking experts on Wall Street already declared you'd missed your chance to buy. And it's the exact same story with the second company revealed in the 3 Kings of Cloud Computing. You see, as you'll discover in this cutting-edge premium research report, this is the company that makes the internet fly. When David first recommended it to Rule Breakers community back in 2005, he admitted it wasn't cheap. But as you can see, it's climbed considerably since then. But with the arrival of cloud computing, David Gardner is more excited than ever about its potential to make investors rich. You see, this company works behind the scenes to make sure you can access everything the web has to offer at lightning fast speeds. And thanks to the ever-growing number of people now using the internet to do everything from watching movies to buying houses, this once flailing refugee of the dot-com meltdown is now one of the most important tech companies in the world. Yet, there's a good chance that you've never even heard of it, which is especially surprising when you consider that Apple, Microsoft, Best Buy, and Nintendo are among its top clients, and they're all more than happy to pay up for the quality this company consistently delivers. While this company's products usually run somewhere in the neighborhood of $275,000 per year, more and more complex applications are coming online all the time, giving this company greater pricing power. In fact, at last count, this little-known company had more than 100 clients paying more than $1 million or more per year. So it's no wonder that cash from operations has more than tripled from $83 million in 2005 to over $400 million today, or that the cash on its balance sheet has grown from just $92 million to a whopping $503 million. And you can bet this growth will only accelerate as cloud computing becomes an even more vital part of our personal and professional lives. And because this company is both a top dog and first mover, it has been able to gain an almost insurmountable lead in market share, which has allowed it to achieve superb operating margins. In fact, its gross margin currently sits at an incredible 73%. Meanwhile, the net margin has climbed to 16% and continues to grow. All things considered, I imagine you can now understand why David Gardner thinks this company will be one of the dominant players in the cloud computing world for years to come. And it's the exact same story with the third company revealed in the 3 Kings of Cloud Computing. Not only is this rule breaker eating Microsoft, SAP, and Oracle's lunch, it's handing investors monster returns in the process. Although this company started out as a top dog and first mover in another emerging area of technology, it has quietly transformed into a budding cloud computing powerhouse that's positioned to host all of the corporate data on the web. But it wasn't its robust developer network. Literally tens of thousands of developers are now invested in the success of this company, nor its 50,000 plus corporate client list that initially caught David Gardner's eye. It was the fact that, like the other cloud computing companies I've told you about today, all the pros on Wall Street claimed it was drastically overvalued, while overlooking the fact that it more than doubled its customer base in just 2 years and more than doubled its free cash flow in just 1. Not to mention it outperforms nearly every company out there, even Google, in turning research and development investments into returns for shareholders. Combine this with the fact that its cloud computing services are extremely simple to use and can save clients tens of millions of dollars over time, and you'll begin to see why David Gardner and his team urged our Rule Breakers community to snap up shares right away. At the time, they were selling for just $27.57. Today, they sell for around $116, meaning investors who follow David's advice have quadrupled their money in just over a year. And despite an extremely tough economy, this company managed to grow sales by an impressive 25% in the most recent quarter, while adding 5,100 new customers. And to top it all off, management stunned Wall Street when they announced that total revenue for 2010 should come in well above what analysts had initially predicted. Truth be told, this is exactly the kind of stock our Rule Breakers community is designed around. After all, not only does this company consistently baffle all the experts on Wall Street, but in doing so, it hands everyday folks like us the kind of profit that allows us to lead the lives we want. So, as you can see, a few well-positioned investors are about to build bold fortunes. The only question is, will you be one of them? You could be. It all starts with taking us up on this special offer and claiming your free report, The 3 Kings of Cloud.